defeat the Huns. I read this a couple days ago. Hopefully I remember it all.
The whole Bible?
Have it all. Yeah, I read the whole Bible.
Dude, good for you. Good for you.
Well, good for me, bad for humanity. Because I learned how to take over.
Everything?
Yeah, I kind of took the Revelation stuff as like a blueprint. So I ordered some locusts.
7 heads and stuff. Oh, hi there. Sorry. Didn't see you come in. Welcome to the Bible is Funny podcast. My name's Anthony. That's my friend Tim.
Hey, everybody.
Today on the Bible is Funny podcast, we're going to do what our name suggests. We're going to talk about the Bible.
And how funny it is.
And our premise, our working premise, that it is funny.
Do you think it's like a self-fulfilling kind of prophecy, the confirmation bias?
Is an affirmation thing we do. The Bible is funny. Mm-hmm. We have to. We just yell at each other.
We look in the mirror
before we start. Yeah,
punch each other in the face. It is funny. You're right. It is funny.
It's funny, among other things.
That is what we do before a show. Funny. You guys, nobody sees that before we do an improv show.
Weirdly violent
comedy performance. We hit each other. We punch and slap a little bit and remind each other that each other is funny. Are funny.
Yeah, right.
You are funny.
And it's both positive and affirming, and then also that you are under attack. And that's what we're trying to get our minds into, like the mode that
you are going to be attacked by this live audience here in a second.
They're going to attack you, and so you need your nerves on that level. Mm-hmm. So don't you dare get calm. Which most performers say. Mm-hmm. They say you don't want to feel calm at all when you're on stage.
No, I never do. Speaking of live shows.
Oh yeah,
that's what's called a segue, folks. This is unintended. We have a live show we're doing.
Live shows
with the Ninjas Are Butterflies, fellas. And we got a couple.
There's a couple coming up.
There's a couple coming up, and then we just added a new one.
That's right.
Which by the time this comes out, it will have been added. It's been added a while back. Yeah. But Jacksonville, Florida.
Jax.
Welcome to the tour. Florida Torrida. Florida Torrida.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're almost talking about like an animal with a shell, a little tortoise.
Yeah, I thought that.
Tortoise.
With a flower coming. It's got like almost a Pokemon name to it, but
man, check out our posters for that.
I know the posters are great. Shouts out to Andy from Ninjas.
Shouts out to AI. Come on.
No.
You think you do that by hand?
Those.
Good job, Andy.
He works mostly with colored pencils.
You'll see Moses on a jet ski.
Where he was always meant to be. Florida Torrida. Oh, go ahead. What's your side note?
I was going to say floridatorrida.com.
Floridatorrida.com. Link in the show notes.
This is a personal question, but do you and your wife have like similar folding styles of like chip bags? I know we talked about like loading the dishes. We're a very domesticated group here.
I think I hate saying stuff like this when she's not here to give her take. I think I do most of the putting away of the chips.
Hot take.
I think a lot of chips are out and I put them away. So I don't know that I fully know. I know she's packed stuff. I think she's a roller.
Okay.
With the clip after the roll.
Okay, so I noticed that you had a bag of chips that had like a fold and then like an envelope.
That's me.
That's how I fold them.
That's me.
And you want to know what my wife does?
What's that?
Single flap clip.
Yeah.
Done. And I'm like, you're asking for everything bad to happen.
I have seen that.
It's such a lazy, but she'll say she's efficient with her time.
Right.
And I can say all this openly because she'll never listen to a podcast.
Shouts out.
I might as well say she doesn't exist. She does. She's very beautiful and wonderful. She'll never hear me say that either. Yeah. Well, I mean, I say it in real life.
Right. She wouldn't hear it digitally. She does. She does pack chips a bit like the tornado warning just went off, and we have to go right now.
But in that case, you would just not pack the chips, and you would just go and say, leave it all behind.
But if you were to zoom in on Mal packing up chips, and you were to go like, she had 2 seconds. She had to go.
Right.
You'd be like, yeah, she did it right then.
But she has to technically say that she packed them. Yeah, it's a single fold and a clip, like a little baby clip in the middle. Like if you're going to do a single fold, you got to have the wide chip clip.
Yeah, you need the more.
And I don't advocate for that, but at least a double fold. My God.
Yeah. Which a double fold is a great segue to The Bible is Funny Card Game Volume 2, which is also out and available for pre-order right now. Or when this podcast comes out, it might be full on sale. I don't know. I've lost track of time. The link will be in the show notes. Either way, Bible's Funny Card Game Volume 2 for all you double folders out there. Double 2.
If you're a single folder, stick to Volume 1.
Volume 1 is probably you don't have time.
You don't have time.
You don't have time. I love when you can identify a thing, because I'm more guilty of this than you, or certainly my wife Rachel. You guys have an intentionality of the way you live. Me and Mal are likely to discover something we're doing like we're in a huge rush, and it's like, but you're not.
You're not.
You're like, no, but I'm so efficient at this task, and it's like, but for what though? You're doing it quickly and hurriedly. For what?
Right.
So you can be done with it.
Right. Well, so she can be done with a bag of chips because we now have to throw it out because they're all stale and there's ants all in it.
Bible's Funny Card Game Volume 2, Florida Torta, in the show notes. Great start. We're off and running here today. As we dive into the Bible, we're going to do Exodus chapters 21 and 22. We typically do 2 chapters at a time if you're a longtime fan of the pod. And we like to start by saying that we are not Bible experts per se.
And 2 chapters at a time should put us at the end of the Bible by the new millennium.
By
the year 3000, we'll be done.
This project has gone through a couple popes. Let's just say that. And we're in Exodus. We're not done with it. We're not experts. So if you're looking for experts, that's not one of our SEO like keywords. You got here. You're lost. This is not the experts, but you're not lost in like the spiritual. I don't know where you're at.
Not all who wander are lost, Anthony.
We're not experts, and I've said it multiple times. Exodus 21. Let's dive in. I'm gonna kind of like. Typically, I've been reading it all. Today. I'm gonna try out a new thing. I'm gonna announce this for everybody. Where we're gonna kind of like.
When were you gonna tell me?
Get in and out here. So let's see how it goes, and maybe I'll end up doing what I normally do anyway. Exodus chapter 21 starts with, these are the laws you are to set before them. So this has been the story of the Exodus we've been going through. You can catch up if you missed any of the chapters. And now we're into the law section that Moses is passing on to the people.
And this is God. God spoke all these words.
To Moses. And then Moses is supposed to make these as laws.
Just so we know the source.
So there's different subjects. It starts with Hebrew servants here. I would like to go to verse 4 if I can. If his master gives... Is that too much?
Did you have something before? Didn't know we were skipping things out of the Bible. Just fold the bag of chips in half and be done.
You're right. This is a great example. Here we go. Verse 1. These are the laws you're to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he's to serve you for 6 years. But in the 7th year, he shall go free without paying anything. Pay attention here, because I do want to talk about this a little bit. If he comes alone, he's to go free alone. But if he has a wife when he comes, she's to go with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free. But, this is verse 5, if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children, and do not want to go free, then his master shall take him before the judge, and shall take him to the door of the... Then his master shall take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he'll be his servant for life.
This to me, this reads like one of those kind of flowcharts of if this. There's a lot of if then statements.
Yeah,
it's wild to me. I actually really like this. Maybe that's why I was so fascinated by it. And I don't want you to skip through the Bible.
No, it was a bad idea.
Like if then statements like, oh, did you show up to slavery with a wife? If yes, then you get to take her with you after 7 years.
Right.
If no, then do you have a wife now? Yes. Okay. Well, then do you also have kids? If so, then the kids and the wife stay. It's fascinating. All the different flowchart stuff they
Details.
Had to pre-draw out.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly and morbid and sick, but yeah.
Right. Yes. Of course, don't co-sign the system here, but it is the system that we're given to read through. I like that it kind of reads to me to the end of the time, the 6 years. It has a little bit of like a reality show feel to it, to where it's like he gets a choice now. Yeah. How much does he like this wife and kids? Right. I also, a little bachelor to the rose ceremony of you can go. You can just go.
But if you really like your wife, I'm going to pin you up against a wall and shove a rod through your ear just to pierce your ear to show that like you're in.
You're all in.
And I think I thought specifically on that, there probably should be a little bit more incentive for this slave to stay, because it's like, okay, you're going to be pinned up against a doorpost. Your master's going to shove an awl through your ear, and you're going to be like pinned for life. Also, the next line says, then he'll be his servant for life.
For life.
Okay, cool. So I get to be like pinned, pierced, and then I still stay a servant. Or I just go?
You just go, but you don't get your wife and kids. It's what I mean. Like, it's got real. I don't know how we haven't gotten like a Pure Flix romance movie with this premise.
And then I wonder, like, is it like your wife listen to your podcast? Like, if you say like, I'm gonna go out, I'm done. Like, maybe she doesn't hear you say that, and you're kind of off the hook. And you can always claim later, "Oh, I said nice things about you.
They kicked me out.
They
were
kicked me
so
out,
upset,
honey." I love our kids.
Yeah, right. It's a real pivotal moment here that I think is ripe for drama, and I don't know how Christian media hasn't capitalized on this storytelling, because this feels like, it's like, oh, I want to be a servant for life, but I really love my wife and kids.
But I love my wife, but my kids are turds.
Right? Or maybe it's
now
like,
I'm torn.
How much do you? All right, let's keep going. Verse 7. If a man sells his daughter as a servant, she's not to go free as male servants do. If she does not please the master who has selected her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to foreigners.
No right.
Because he has broken faith with her. He has absolutely no right. If he selects her for his son, he must grant her the rights of a daughter. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. If he does not provide her with these three things, she's to go free without any payment of money.
Again, I want like a little bit more of an incentive here. Besides, well, you just go. If you don't want any of this life, then you just go hit the streets. I would maybe like send her off with like $500 cash and maybe like a hotel room for a week or something, just so she gets her feet underneath her.
Sure.
Yeah.
Another like though run of like if-thens, there's a lot of like ways to navigate this particular set of laws.
Right. And all of them with the enslaved person end with, you can be a slave forever after that, or you can go free on your own with no education or tools to live a normal life.
Right.
You choose, though. You get your choice.
What
You're
an
not
option.
Enslaved anymore.
What
Isn't
an
that
option.
cool? Isn't that nice of God to do for you?
It's good to have choices. Verse 12. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. However, if it is not done intentionally, but God lets it happen, they are to flee to a place I will designate. But if anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death.
This is where we start to define manslaughter.
Well, and I just question a little bit of like, how far are we letting the accident excuse go? I was just swinging my sword. Got to practice. And wouldn't you know, Bill walked right into it.
He was dressed up just like my practice dummy.
So unlucky
I maybe dressed
Bill.
my practice dummy like Bill, and they happened to be in the same room, and I couldn't tell the difference. And my bad.
It could happen to anybody. If anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person's to be taken from my altar and put to death. If it's not done intentionally, but God lets it happen is kind of a thing to say. They are to flee to a place I will designate.
Yeah, I imagine being like an angsty kid, like a teenager at that point.
Oh.
And you're like, just want to get out of my house. I don't want to live under this rule anymore with my parents. You could just accidentally kill someone.
Oh,
and
that's all
God
we're saying.
relocates you.
Yeah.
So you run away.
Relocation.
You get to run away in this relocation program. All you have to do is kill somebody. If you've got the nerve to do it, God will relocate you.
This is one of my favorite Old Testament premises, and it comes up several times. I think this is probably the first, at least that we've come across. So then the first, because we started at the beginning. But there are these like refuge cities for people who accidentally kill someone, and it's just such a funny premise to me. Like that's such a funny sitcom show to me. Of like it's a town full of people who accidentally killed somebody.
Like, what are you in for? Oh.
Mixed with like
killing somebody.
Family matters, right? Like it's like the hardened criminalness of like everyone has killed someone, but you're also in a neighborhood.
Right, we can't put you to death.
No. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Also makes me feel like they were accidentally killing people. I think you got a pretty broad brush without accidental.
To be fair, it's pretty
happening.
It's pretty hard to stay alive back then anyway.
Right.
So to accidentally kill someone is like,
okay,
I undercooked the chicken.
Sure.
She got salmonella.
I sneezed
and died. Yeah.
Diseases.
Does
you know
that
what I mean?
count? This is why we have lawyers.
You're so right. Yeah. I didn't think about that. If you were like, no, I was sick and I thought I was on the other side of it. My fever was gone, so I went to work, and then Bill died.
Yeah, well, we get into it more and more of the accident stuff with the animals here coming up.
Then you relocate. Verse 15, anyone who attacks their father or mother is to be put to death, which seems on the surface fine, but then I wonder, like, emotionally, is it about, like, for their style choices, for what they decide to post on Facebook? Because some of us have pointed out certain things to their mothers and fathers. Well, not us for fathers with obvious reasons, but define attack and
right. Yeah, I want to know like what level. Like, is it their version of attack? Like you attacked me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Like what has to happen? Like if I scare my mom pretty bad, does that count as an attack?
Sure.
Did I give her a panic attack?
Dude, great question with who decides attack.
This is why we need attorneys.
Sometimes you're like, yeah, that one summer camp I went to, I actually didn't have a great time. Oh, so I was a terrible mom? So you just attack me?
No, that's not what I was saying. Put to death!
Kill him!
Right, the stakes are pretty high here.
Yeah. For
some vague definitions.
Verse 16, anyone who kidnaps someone is to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or is still in the kidnapper's possession. Which is just a good note that whatever step of the kidnapping journey you're on, you still are put to death.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 17, anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. Again, just kind of referencing that earlier verse, and also might end up putting this one up in my house somewhere, just so my kids are familiar with this verse.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I didn't know if this was like, are you just cursing out your dad, like you say a curse word toward, or is it like a Harry Potter kind of spell curse here? Because if it's Harry Potter, I get it. Nobody wants to.
Crucio.
Yeah. Nobody wants that happening to them from their kid.
No, not from their kid.
Mm-mm. But if my kid's just like, F you, Dad, I'm like, no, I get it.
There's gotta be a number of those, you know what I mean, that you're allowed. You gotta have some in your pocket.
I guess, but like, do I have to turn my kid in to be like, she said F you, Dad.
Yeah.
17 times.
I was cursed.
Now kill her.
I was cursed.
Now death.
Death to you.
Seems a little extreme.
Offspring.
But if she's putting a Harry Potter curse on me, then I'm like, yeah kill her. Kill the witch.
Yeah. You're always saying that.
Oh, well, anybody puts a spell on me, kill the witch.
I put a spell on you.
No,
we did it.
No.
I sang.
God bless.
Verse 18, if people quarrel and one person hits another with a stone or with their fist and the victim does not die, but is confined to bed, the one who struck the blow will not be held liable if the other can get up and walk around outside with a staff.
Okay.
However, the guilty party must pay the injured person for any loss of time and see that the victim is completely healed.
Okay, all right.
This sounds like some workman's comp stuff here on verse 18. Shouts out workman's comp. It's like, no, we feel like you're
workers' comp.
Workers' comp.
Be egalitarian.
Oh yeah,
here.
you're right. That
inclusive.
is correct. Workers' comp be like,
F you,
I don't know.
Dad.
You seem fine to me. You're like, no, I lost vision and
Can you stand up?
I don't know.
This is where we had these watchdogs sitting outside of people's tents going, I saw you walking without a staff.
Seemed like he could walk around to me. So he was stumbling. Actually, he was. Well, it's a way to get around. Some people stumble. Some people. It doesn't seem like this is my fault. Verse 20, anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property. That's
terrible.
Awful. That's bad. 22, if people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman. You thought that was bad before. Let's keep it going.
Right. Well, listen, going back, there's a lot of vagueness here. There's a lot of vague stuff here. Like, beat the person with a rod versus what if it's just a little stick?
I know. And the whole time I'm reading this, I'm thinking like, progress is hard to define. Because if you go from no rules to rules, have you made progress? Even if the rules are not, we don't love them at this point.
Right.
But before,
we're just codifying
it was
some
literally
bad stuff happening.
Chaotic nonsense, mayhem. And then we had some sort of order to the whole thing. That feels like probably a step in the right direction. And it's certainly easy to go, well, there's a lot of stuff in here that's not good. And I hear you. But that was my wonder as I was reading through it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Again, we're like setting it sort of in stone, and it sounds like it's being ordained by God to some degree, and I agree. It sounds kind of cringy and gross.
Yeah.
And if the purpose of it was to say, hey, we need to get ourselves out of this hole a little bit.
Sure.
So let's just start by like not killing our enslaved people on a whim. Can we start there? And
right.
Everybody kind of went, yeah, okay, I guess.
Right.
And then it seems like God would go, yeah, but the first step should actually be like to not do this to people. People are property.
Right. That's what I thought the whole time reading this. It's the old, like, if somebody smokes less cigarettes, it might be a step in the right direction. And it's certainly easy to go, but that's not healthy. And you're like, you're right, but it's also less cigarettes than they were smoking before.
Right.
So if we were working towards the right spot, maybe we're moving in the right direction.
Right,
it's an honest question.
Right.
The other podcasts are where
we're
you
trying
get the
not to
real
get too
answer to
deep
this.
with this stuff. But.
Anyway, back to hitting pregnant women. Verse 22. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there's no serious injury, the offender must be fined whatever the women's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is a serious injury, you're to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, and bruise for bruise.
Very specific. What if the baby's not his? We didn't even address that.
No, there's no paternal connection here implied, real or implied at all. So the questions that came out of this for me, husband demands a financial number, which to me was just like a funny conversation. Funny, relatively speaking. We're talking about stuff like this. So your wife is involved. Your pregnant wife is involved in this, and then hey, tomorrow's the court day. How much are you gonna ask for? You're like, I don't know. I think it was like $100 for the last $100. $100
for me and your unborn child.
$100.
Fine. $250.
$500.
$250. That's it. That's all.
That's
I'm
it.
worth? I don't. $1 million. You're never gonna.
You're never gonna. Be reasonable. I'm trying to get a new horse.
You know what I want is like, they're like eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
Yeah.
Like, so it's meant to be like not like exhaustive. It's not supposed to go beyond that. That's
right. Yes.
how we've sort of
you're not exacting additional revenge.
Right. And that has been misconstrued and twisted and been gross to be like, no, you do. If somebody does do an eye, take my eye out.
Yeah.
I have to take their eye out.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, just don't do any worse. And also Jesus talked about doing that differently later on. But what I want in this scenario is like for some young kid to like wrong me or wrong my wife. And I go, you know what really I want? Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, lower back pain for lower back pain. You now are blessed with my lower back pain, son, because now I have to deal with you. I have to deal with this.
Stand up real quick, like very fast.
You can't.
Sucks, doesn't it? That's what you get. Yeah, it's not meant to be exhausting, but they did go quite extensively on the injuries. Verse 26, an owner who hits a male or female slave in the eye and destroys it must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And an owner who knocks out the tooth of a male or female slave must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. And this is it seems to be quite a gap here as far as like the rest, the quality of life beyond. Like, especially like not a real critical tooth. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, I would lose a tooth. That meant like a life of a reset of my life and freedom and all those great things.
Yeah.
And eye seems like it's a lot. You only got 2 of those, Some of us don't even have 2 eyes if you're a cyclops. Much bigger deal. If a bull gores a man or a woman to death, the bull is to be stoned to death.
This is where things get good,
And
by
its
the way.
meat
If you fell asleep during the beating and torturing of other people, like this is where things get great, is with the animals.
I do love this. If a bull gores a man or woman to death, the bull is to be stoned to death, and its meat must not be eaten. But the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. If, however, the bull has had the habit of goring...
Following the chart, sorry.
Right.
Has gore... okay.
Is a habit of goring, and the owner has been warned but has not kept it penned up, and it kills a man or woman, the bull is to be stoned, and its owner is also to be put to death. However, if payment is demanded, the owner may redeem his life by the payment of whatever is demanded. This law also applies if the bull gores a son or daughter. If the bull gores a male or female slave, the owner must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master of the slave, and the bull is to be stoned to death.
Either way, bull's gonna die.
Bull's got to go.
But I thought, like, what if it's like some punk kids that are provoking it? Like, that's not the bull's fault. Like, some kid hops the fence and tries to go cow tipping, and then the bull's like, "Hey, I'm not having that."
Right. Yeah.
Not cool. I don't know. Again, this is why we need attorneys to help kind of figure this out. I guess not the attorneys.
If the perpetrator is in the pen, let the bull go free again. That's what I always say.
You've said that before.
I say that all the time. I love that, just like that, the danger of bulls and having to like live with bulls in your close proximity. I think I've talked about this again, and we've done so many podcasts.
These were wilder bulls back then too. These aren't the tame bulls that we see every day.
Oh, sure. And like, I just think if you have not been near a bovine creature recently, remind yourself for scale. Like, go near a cow and you're in your head like, this is a nice creature. It's a big animal. Like, that creature would run you over and flatten you out without really thinking about it. Right. Now give that thing horns and potentially a temper, and just it's on the street with everybody. Right. Like, it's just like off the main street.
Yeah, very similar to me, like kayaking, and there's a manatee. Like, I'm surrounded by schools of manatees.
Right.
They're all gentle, but if they move real fast, like, that's scary.
Yeah.
And then you put horns on it like it's, or tusks on it like it's a walrus.
Yeah.
Now we're in fighting mode.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of that.
Maybe you got a stew going. If anyone uncovers a pit or digs one and fails to cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the one who opened the pit must pay the owner for the loss and take the dead animal in exchange. In Florida, we have this at the beach. If you dig the big hole in the beach, it's not safe.
Yeah, this is all negligence, by the way, if you're legally following along.
Yeah, possession's 9/10 of the law. If anyone's bull injures someone else's bull and it dies, the two parties are to sell the live one and divide both the money and the dead animal equally. However, if it was known that the bull had the habit of goring, yet the owner did not keep it penned up, the owner must pay animal for animal and take the dead animal in exchange.
But I think they can eat it, though, at that point. It doesn't say there's any rules against eating it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So at least if your bull kills somebody else's bull and they were habitually bull killing, then you can take the dead animal, and you kind of also then save yourself the trouble of slaughtering it, you know?
Because it's already, you're further down the line to having dinner ready for steaks.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like this is a very hospitable.
I can't.
Also, I just got giggly reading that. I don't know why it just hit me, but it's just like a bull owner compelling for like the nature of the bull, like, because it's all about the habit of going.
Right.
I know he's made mistakes, okay, but who hasn't made mistakes? I'm telling you, he's a good bull. I'm telling you. Dave, he's goring someone right now. Oh, come on!
He's got a taste for blood. Sure, who doesn't?
All right, chapter 22. Whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in at night and struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed, but if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed. It's kind of like basically the same rule as the purge. Once the sun comes up,
right?
We can't be killing people like that for being around your house.
Also, you can't be held liable for like killing what you can't see.
Yeah, it's too dark.
You take shots in the dark.
Sword
Bill
practice.
Wandered in the middle of the night. How was I to know? We don't have lights. We don't have like motion detector lights.
Yeah, turn the candle off. because of fire hazards. You turn the candle off at night. Anyone who steals must certainly make restitution, but if they have nothing, they must be sold to pay for their theft. If the stolen animal is found alive in their possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, they must pay back double. If anyone grazes their livestock in a field or vineyard and lets them stray and they graze in someone else's field, the offender must make restitution from the best of their own field or vineyard. That checks.
These are all very specific.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, like, how often these very specific occurrences were happening. Just curious, because they've named very, very, very specific events.
Right.
I wonder if there's one offending person out there who had a bull that kept goring people, and it's like, hey, we're gonna call this the Frank Law.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's looking at the one guy when they read the yeah. I can see that.
We're not going to put any names on it, but if your bull happens to have a history of doing this over and over, Frank, then...
Different level of accountability, Frank. Not an accident anymore, Frank.
There's a new sheriff in town, Frank.
He's a good bull. Okay. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of grain or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution.
What if it was lightning? A brush fire, act of God. Are we holding God responsible here?
Well, again, in verse 6, that definitely speaks to what you were mentioning earlier. This feels like this happened once and we didn't have a good policy on it. So now there's a policy, right? This is what happens in legal systems.
Yeah.
It's not a thing until it's a thing. Then you make a decision, and that's the rule. If anyone gives a neighbor silver or goods If anyone gives a neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appeal before the judges, and they must determine whether the owner of the house has laid hands on the other person's property. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other lost property about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judges. The one whom the judges declared guilty must pay back double to the other.
It's pretty steep.
It's a lot to unpack there. I'm honestly, it's a lot going on.
Why are we handing our like a bucket of silver to our neighbor? Like, I'm going out of town. Can you lock this up in your tent? Silver? Will I go? I just want you to hang on to my silver.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. Obviously, it did, but
probably going out of town.
Yeah.
How much could you lock these dwellings?
How much could you go out of town?
Yeah, good question.
Where are you gonna go?
Good question. Hold on one second. I'm gonna take a quick break because Rob, we're gonna have to cut this out. Apologies.
Tell him the timestamp.
Oh, okay, great. That worked out great. Sorry, Rob. Just cut that part out.
I don't leave my silver at your house.
I wish you would.
I bet you do.
I wish you would.
You're waiting for me to go out of town. Take my silver all the way to the bank.
In all cases of illegal possession, both parties are bringing the case. Yeah, this is just good to have this jotted down for when these cases come up. I'll be honest, I just tried to read it again and it was hard for me to track. But I guess if you find yourself in the situation and it matters, you would, unpack this even further.
And I wonder, like, also the beginning of chapter 22 or 21 says that God said all this stuff. Did God maybe write this down for us? Because this is a lot. This is a lot for Moses to have to remember. And if he's got to like etch it into a rock, like a tablet, while this is going on, like, come on, can you at least print this up and we'll read it together?
Yeah.
Like, print up a memo before the meeting.
It also, we've alluded to this a little bit. I'm getting giggly just thinking. Okay, when God gave rules, and we kind of collectively agreed these were from God. We talk about the 10 Commandments, right? We talk about like, don't lie, don't steal, don't murder. There's like some just very like, that feels like those are God rules.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering a little bit if maybe Moses was now taking those rules and addressing situations as they came up. Because it doesn't sound like the rules God gave from earlier when it was very succinct, very punchy, very pointed. Kind of stood the test of time, honestly.
Yeah.
Like there's just like a timelessness to the rules. And now when we're into like the thorn bush fires. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Other podcasts would know because they've done deeper dives into research and things. It's whatever, but I don't know that.
Yeah, these seem more like community rules.
Right.
Like God, and God is in our community, so God said by community decision that
Frank's bull needs to
die,
killed,
but don't eat it.
And the crowd's like, so you said God said to kill? In not so many words. God said to kill Frank's bull for the safety of us all. Okay, verse 10. If anyone gives a donkey, an ox, or a sheep, or any other animal to their neighbor for safekeeping, and it dies, or is injured, or is taken away while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by the taking of an oath before the Lord. You have to swear to God. That's what that means. Probably what the Message translation is. That the neighbor did not lay hands on the other person's property. The owner is to accept this, and the restitution is required, of course. But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, restitution must be made to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, the neighbor shall bring in the remains as evidence, and shall not be required to pay for the torn animal.
I think there's room for a service here. It's like kind of like the mob, and it's like, oh, did you kill that animal? I can cover that up for you. And then that guy goes in and I'll make it look like an accident.
Yeah.
And then makes it look like there's a wildebeest out here. It was wild wildebeest.
Yeah,
it's wild's in the name. It went wild.
Or
it
maybe
started going everybody to death. Look at all the shreds of meats.
This is a guy who has a bull with a habit of goring and just says like,
I know how they're supposed to look.
Hey,
I can, for the right price.
We could make this, we could tear this up. I have questions about the neighbor bringing in, kind of like...
Right.
So if you could see, this would be like where the leg...
If I could get that flap of skin back to where it's supposed to be, you could tell this is where I branded it.
Your Honor, this is a tooth that I believe might be a toe. It's hard to tell.
Like, can you... Like, if I'm the judge, just... Okay, I believe you.
Covered in blood and guts. So we're good here? Great. Okay.
Cool.
I'm going to shake hands.
Okay.
If anyone borrows an animal from their neighbor and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, they must make restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal was hired, the money paid for the hire covers the loss. Mm-hmm. This is like kind of...
This is your rental agreement.
Well, and a little bit almost of like dog watching situation, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you bring your dog to my house and there's an incident, like cool, it's your thing. But if I'm watching your dog and then something happens, it's always like, ugh.
Or if you're supposed to be watching my dog at my house and the dog craps all over the place, okay, whose fault is that?
Right.
Is it your dog because your dog craps all over the place when you leave town, or is it my fault for not being there to let the dog out?
I blame the bulls. Verse 16. On to cheerier topics. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife.
Fair is fair.
If the father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins. This has got a real like telenovela vibe to it to me, of like seduces her. So it's like there's the seduction, there's the attraction, and then there's a father. I forbid this to happen.
Yeah, that's got to be hard to be like the dad too, going, yeah, you just did that to my daughter. You should take her as your wife. That's cool. That's fine. You seem like a outstanding.
Like a stand-up
You seem a good guy.
Right. If the father it's the line absolutely refuses. Like, under no circumstances. But Daddy, I love him!
Like, technically...
No.
Yeah, you can say no.
What was that song? I'm gonna marry her anyway. Remember that? That's based on this, loosely. It's a Christian band. Verse 18. Also, terrible time to be a woman. Verse 18. Do not allow a sorceress to live. Punchy. Straight to the point.
Mm-hmm. I want to know what allow to live technically means legally. Because they're pretty clear in other parts of these chapters.
Yeah.
Where they go, if this happens, stone it to death.
Right.
If this happens, kill that thing.
I think it just means like...
You pay 30 shekels for this. If she's a sorceress, just don't allow her to live.
Don't allow her to live her life. You're barging in at all times. You're asking her for favors.
Live in the
the sense of like, don't let her
sense of life.
have life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Like, you're just like constantly interrupting her all the time. She's trying to get anything done. Shouldn't have been a sorceress. Sorry.
But don't kill her.
You take my stuff to the cleaners? Can you mow my grass? All the time. Verse 19, anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is to be put to death. Yeah, language difference. Don't allow sorcerers to live. That other psychopath couldn't kill them.
Okay.
Put to death right now.
Okay, but how? Okay, hear me out.
Don't. I wouldn't finish it.
I'm just saying, how are we defining like these relations? Hear me out. Don't get me wrong about my relationship with animals here.
There's only one way to take
but
this.
But the stakes are real high, and as an attorney, I want to be very clear. Does like baby talk with animals count? Because it's like when my dog comes up and cuddles. What if my dog is licking my ear? Is that?
Yeah.
Does that sort of count?
I think, honestly...
Because I don't want to be put to death for something my dog is trying to lick my ear.
Talking legally, these people are going to have to put you to death.
I'm just
starting down...
saying. I don't even have a dog, so it couldn't happen.
Sure you don't.
Don't have a dog because he died too. Thanks, everybody, for bringing that up. Right. I'm just saying, I want these things defined a little bit clearer when the stakes are so high that you were put to death. The sorceress one, it's like, I just don't allow her to just be annoying, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But that's not clear what's supposed to happen. But kill everybody else.
Well, because sorceress does have more, I wonder, historically speaking, bad habit of a woman going like, I think it might rain today. She's a witch.
I think that dog looks cute.
Nobody but you needs clarification on 19. We all had that straight going in. 20. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed. They really are almost like going through a thesaurus here of like, don't allow to live, put to death, must be destroyed. Kind of means the same thing, but we're just going to keep spicing it up for the reader.
Right.
21. Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt. A lot of talk in the Old Testament.
That's
learning
weird.
a lesson about being good to foreigners.
Also seems like it might be relevant today.
Does still matter.
But
verse 22. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, when they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless.
Yeah, that also seems relevant today too. The other one though, there's no consequence to don't mistreat or oppress a foreigner. For you were foreigners, there's not like a threat to that, or like this is what's going to happen if you're mean. Yeah, it's just don't do it. Which I even like more. Like God just saying, just don't stop being a jerk.
Right. There's like what I like about it is always this. It's like you felt this, like you were this at one point. Mm-hmm. So don't allow this to become a thing where you are the thing that you become the thing that you were subjected to.
Yeah, maybe that was an easy connection, and it's harder for people to go like, oh, but I was never a bull that was gored to death by a wild animal, so it's hard to get in that headspace.
Right. This is what they were hoping they could get there. I do like in 22 that there's like this like, you stone them or somebody's gonna be put to death, and then 22 there's like, oh, you're gonna mess with widows and orphans. I'm gonna kill you with a sword.
I'm gonna kill you with a sword.
Your wives are gonna become widows, and your children are gonna become orphans.
Do you want them to be mistreated too?
Mm-hmm. Must I go on? That one's real threatening. Mm-hmm. 25. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy. Sorry, it is just like there's these tone shifts of like, you do this and I'll freaking kill you and your family will be ruined. On to money lending. If you lend money to one of the people among you who is needy, do not treat it like a business deal. Charge no interest. If you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, return it by sunset, because that cloak is the only covering your neighbor has. What else can they sleep in? When they cry out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. That's all they have to cover.
Yeah.
You can borrow the cloak, bring the cloak back. Okay?
Well, if you took it as like a down payment.
Oh, you're right. If you took it as a pledge. 28. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. You must give me the firstborn of your son. Sorry, did you?
By the way, no. The message on the Message version of the Bible on verse 29 says, basically says, don't be stingy with your wine.
Oh, hey girl.
Okay.
Put that on a pillow.
Put it on the pillow.
That's actually great.
Don't be stingy with your wine.
Somebody should do an account around like out of context Bible verses.
Yeah, somebody should maybe put a card together.
Just like because that's a great line.
From the Message.
You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. You are to be my...
Where?
Oh, go ahead.
No, just where?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, this is supposed to... Do the same with the cattle and the sheep. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. God, presumably.
Right.
Saying, or I don't think it's Moses. I don't think he's running a daycare. But, like... Where, like, do the same with your cattle and sheep. They can stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. Like, sacrifice? I don't think we're talking about sacrifice anymore. So you're literally saying, give them to me. Where is there a drop-off point where I go to, like, put my firstborn kid?
And the thing is, like,
my sheep.
Again, we was referring to the other podcast, and it's like there was some system by which the Levites and the priests were supplied by these things.
I wasn't asking for a real answer.
I know, but there is I hate presenting things.
Of course, there's
a real answer to that one that I'm close enough to like throw a dart at when you say it.
This is because of your heritage. This is how you know. You feel it. You feel it in your bones, don't you?
I could throw a dart at answering that question, and I won't, because I'm committed to these people not learning anything. And because that would be a bad thing to learn, because I'm sure it's wrong. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days. You are to be my holy people, verse 31. And this is where we'll conclude today. You can close your Bibles. You are to be my holy people. So do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. That verse actually really brought a smile to my face, just because it's like this 2-chapter run of rules. And it's almost like you are to be my holy people. So it's like, if I was to summarize right. in one thing, verse 31, you are to be my holy people. So don't eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs.
Selah. The Message says, don't eat mutilated flesh you find in the fields. Throw it to the dogs. What?
Sure.
We were doing that? That was it.
They were on your track.
That was a conscious choice?
We don't have to slaughter it. Already dead.
You find it in the field. Just a found. I want to know the death process of the animal.
Oh, yeah, I see. I want to know that Frank's bull gored it proper.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. That's something I think we can all take away from this discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, did you learn anything today?
Not a whole lot. No, I feel like I learned the birth of the legal system and how we got,
sure.
This is why we got to this point where we rely on attorneys and people to like read and interpret the law, because there were so many rules and so many which ways things could go. And the flow chart was so all over the place that we had to go, you know what, just... Chad, will you just take this document? Will you go figure that out?
Yeah.
Who just... You do it. You present the case. I got to go take care of my bulls. The other bulls that aren't wild. Can you take care of this?
And then you just, right before you close the door, you put your head back in. He's a good bull, Chad. He's a good bull. I didn't learn anything really on this one. Verse 18 just made me think, when we say, God forbid a girl have hobbies... Do not allow a sorceress to live. I think that might have been where it started, was verse 18.
I feel like you learned to not skip verses in this.
I did.
System.
I had been thinking about that, prepping for this, and I was like, maybe I'll jump around. And this would have been terrible had I done that.
Yeah, no kidding.
So much violence against pregnant women that we would have skipped. Hey, thanks for being a part of the podcast today. You read 2 chapters of the Bible today. Like, what a spiritual juggernaut you are.
Mm-hmm.
This has been...
Jesus is going to be so happy with you.
Segment we got. Jesus is happy with you, whether you read it or not. But
happier.
This has been Cheat Day Devos. That's what we call the segment. Because it's fun, we're reading the Bible, but you also feel like you got, like, some devotional elements in. Because we started to begin to ask a question maybe worth asking that we never answered.
Yeah.
Which is honestly where the tough work is. A lot of people skip that work.
And you can tell people that you learned something, even if you didn't. That's just a lie that we're all cool with. I think we've all agreed that lying isn't as bad.
I send my kids to school every day and they come home and say they didn't learn anything. So like,
what's one podcast? Nobody's expecting anything.
Just like me and my kids, like let other people have the benefit of you pretend you learned something just for the sake of justifying why you listen to the podcast.
Yeah. I can't lie to people. I can't stop encouraging that. I do it every day. Or do I?
This has been Cheat Day Devos, Exodus chapters 21 and 22. Follow along with Bible is Funny at The Bible is Funny. Mm-hmm. Recap of what we mentioned earlier. Florida Torrida, live show. Maybe we do some Bible stuff on stage?
No.
With our friends, Ninjas or Butterflies. FloridaTorrida.com, links in the show notes. Bible is Funny Card Game Volume 2, available for pre-sale, I think, still. Again, I lost track of days. In the link in the show notes. Go there, check it out, get it. It's more cards for your Bible is Funny card game collection.
Get stuff. You're going to be happier.
It's just a source of happiness. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. See you soon.
See you guys.
I hear the jingle in my head when we close.
The Bible